When I was young, as a young Malaysian boy, I would save money from Chinese New Year ang pao, from Hari Raya, from Christmas, from Deepavali. I would save my money in a piggy bank. Does anybody remember the piggy bank? Remember the piggy bank? Yeah, me, a Malay boy, allowed to keep a piggy bank. That's how different Malaysia was in those days. Yes. There was nobody outside my house protesting. Tak boleh, piggy bank tak boleh. Anjing bank pun tak boleh. That's how different it was in those days. And in those days, as a child, when we got money at ang pao, nowadays, wow, you put $10 also, children reject it. Have you noticed? Ayah, 10 ringgit only. Ayah. My uncle damn cheap, man. Those days, we got 2 coins, we were excited. And the ultimate was the 1 ringgit coin. Do you remember the 1 ringgit coin? I had 2 1 ringgit coins, ladies and gentlemen. I was very proud of it. I kept it in my piggy bank, and I was planning when I grew up one day to break this piggy bank open. But let me tell you a story. This is a true story. This is what happened. 9 years old, I came home from school one day. My piggy bank was broken. Someone stole my piggy bank. They broke it, took all my coins. I asked my cousin. My cousin was staying with me. My cousin, his name is actually Anding. He was actually from Kuching. And he was staying with me. And Anding said to me, "Hey Harit, your brother was in your room." My brother's name is Johan. Your brother Johan was in your room earlier. I went to my brother's room, ladies and gentlemen. This is a true story. On his table were all these coins which were never there before. And I saw on his table 2 1 ringgit coins, which I knew were mine. There were 2 1 ringgit coins, and there was also 60 cents. I knew there was that 2.6 was mine. That was mine. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Wait, I haven't finished my story yet. That 2 ringgit 60 was mine. Why are you laughing? Wait. This is the true story. Anyway, so I confronted my brother. I said, Johan, this is my money. You took my money. He said, no. He said, this is my money. I said, where you got this money? He said his friend gave to him. I was like, which friend? Which friend gave to you? He said, Ahmed. I said, who's Ahmed? He said, his Arab friend. This is a true story. And then don't get me in trouble here. I'm telling you a true story. I did not give up. I confronted Joe. I said, you were in my room. I know you were in my room. He said, who told you I was in your room? I said, our cousin Anding. He said, alah, kau jangan percaya apa budak Sarawak report ke awak tu. Jangan percaya. Why are you clapping? No. This is a true story. Look, it's being shot on video. I could get in trouble. You know, if I get in trouble, I say, you are the ones who are clapping. I'm just telling a story. It was a different time, ladies and gentlemen. I went to school in a school called St. John's Institution, St. John's Primary and then St. John's Secondary in Kuala Lumpur. It was basically a Catholic school. There were crosses all over the school. I was there for 11 years. I was never confused. I was never confused. Hundreds and thousands of my Malay friends went through St. John's. Nobody got confused. Nowadays, one small cross in a housing estate. Oh, terkejut, tak boleh, saya confused, I'm confused. Mana boleh, tak boleh. When did this happen? I was in basically a Catholic. I was never confused. I was not, I have to admit, ladies and gentlemen, I was not a great student. From standard 1 to form 5, I was in Sekolah Kebangsaan. Not a fantastic student, I have to admit. If I was a good student, I would be sitting over there and somebody else would be standing up here. Because you guys obviously were great students. You know, you knew what you were doing, you studied properly. I tried to study, but unfortunately I did not have a brain to keep information. You know how bad my brain is? I can tell you something. I was in school for 11 years, standard 1 to form 5. The day I left school, literally the day I left school, I forgot everything I learned. I don't know how many of you feel that way. Same. I have no recollection of whatever in all my subjects. I don't know anything. I only remember one small piece of information. The year 1511, Alfonso de Albuquerque menakluk Malacca. The Portuguese menakluk Malacca in 1511. I remember that one. Do you remember that information? Because every year the teacher said to me, this one sure come out, this question sure come out. So every year I was 1511, Portuguese menakluk Malacca, 15. The question never came out. And here is the thing. Since I have left school, I have never used that piece of information. I have been to job interviews. They've never asked me, when did Portuguese menakluk Malacca? I have done radio and TV interviews. Nobody has asked me, when did Portuguese menakluk Malacca? I actually went to Malacca once. I stood outside the R Famosa building, waiting for tourists to walk by, hoping that a tourist would ask me a question. One tourist did come up to me. He said, "Excuse me, sir, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Where are the toilets?" I said, "I don't know. I never studied that in school. But if you want to know when the Portuguese menakluk Malacca, I know where that is." Seriously, we learned so much in school. But our education system in the Sekolah Kebangsaan those days was quite tight. Wow, or geography. Wow, we learned about South America, the rainfall in Argentina. I learned about that. Gandum in Peru and all. In Malaysian waters, Pukat Tunda. We learned how to use a Pukat Tunda. Has anybody here ever used a Pukat Tunda? No, but we learned about it. And not only that, not only was our studying did not make sense, we were also given instruments. I had a geometry set. You remember you all had a geometry set? And in this geometry set was a triangle ruler. You remember? About 3 inches each way. Triangle. What was the point of a triangle ruler? It was too short to measure anything. You couldn't measure a room or something. What was the point of a triangle ruler? And it had that. Another thing was the thing with the two pointy things, the two sharp pointy things, which you could only use when you were fighting other students to poke them with. And my favorite piece of school paraphernalia was the sharpener with the mirror on it. Do you remember that? You remember that, sir? The sharpener with the mirror. Anybody with children in school, do they still have the sharpener with the mirror? Do they still have it? Who the hell, what brilliant engineer and technical designer came up with the idea of putting a mirror on a sharpener? Two things which have nothing to do with each other. I don't know about you girls, but I can tell you something. As schoolboys, there was only one use for the mirror. And judging by the laughter at the front table here, I feel I'm not alone in this. The mirror was used when you had a very pretty teacher with a short skirt. Then you put a mirror at the shoe, and then you just slowly... Did you guys? I don't know. I don't know. Someone told me they did that. I never did it. I never did it. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, that was the 70s. That was in a different time. Of course, I grew up in Malaysia. I was born in Malaysia. My parents are Malaysian. My father, his name was Colonel Musa bin Muhammad. He was Malaysian. He was in the army. My mother, her name was Farida Jane Musa. She actually came from England, but she came to Malaysia in 1960, and she became a Malaysian. So I grew up in a very interesting household. I had a Malay father and a Mak Saleh mother, which was very interesting because whenever they tried to discipline me, they got very cross lines, because the way that Malaysians, discipline the children and the way that Mak Saleh discipline the children is very different. Have you noticed when you go to a restaurant, you see the Mak Saleh family, they're eating. The children are running around barefoot, climbing the chair, climbing the table. The parents don't do anything. They just talk to the children. They're like, Timmy, start running around, Timmy, stop. Timmy, don't climb on the table, Timmy. You're gonna fall down, Timmy. You're gonna fall, Timmy. You'll fall. You're gonna get concussion, Timmy. You're gonna get concussion. Can you spell concussion? Can you? They put a education lesson into this whole thing. But the children continue to create mayhem everywhere. You see Malaysian parents, we are very simple. Malaysian parents eating at the table. The moment the child as much as put one foot on the chair, Malaysian parents just look at, hey, strike with strike. Don't even have to give any words. Just a few sounds and join the hey, strike with strike. Back. Let it. All right, enough. The child understands. But some children, you know, like the Gil, some children, they continue to climb the chair. The moment they climb the chair, Malaysian parents, we do not give any quarter. The child puts a leg on the table. Hey, you want to climb? You want to climb? Huh? You want to climb? You climb, you fall, you die. Simple message. Don't need to complicate matters. You climb, you fall, you die. In fact, some Malaysian parents give a little bit of a carrot. They give a bit of incentive. In fact, die. Climb. See if I care. Huh? In fact, I hope you die. Huh? You know how expensive you are? Huh? Your education, how much? I don't care whether you're only 3 years old. Shut up. And of course, sometimes the children climb, they fall. Then they start crying. I see, stupid. Who asked you to climb? Who asked you to climb? Huh? Come see your son. See? I told him not to climb. He refused to listen. He's stubborn. Follow your side of the family. See, that's simple. And I experienced this in my household because my father was Malay and my mother was English. Except the problem was, my father, although Malay, he was British trained. He was Sandhurst. He was an officer. He trained in Sandhurst. And he was very British trained. So when I played football in the house and broke a window, he was like, oh, you broke a window. Oh, did you use your right foot or your left foot? I used my right foot, Baba. Oh, you try your left foot. Because he liked football. He wanted me to get used to both feet. My mother, although she was from England, somehow learned the Malaysian system. When she saw the broken window, she was like, what, Chad? Didn't even bother talking. What? One tight slap, backhand, some more, backhand. And we all know backhand is 2.5 times more painful than the forehand. That was my mother like that. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, both my parents have passed away. My parents passed away in 2010. My father passed away in February 2010, February 21st, 2010. My mother passed away 3 weeks later in March 2010. And every time I tell this story, someone inevitably says, they wanted to be together up there. And that's quite possible, although I don't think so, because they were divorced 20 years before that. I don't think my mother was in any hurry to go and see my father. In fact, I think my father was up there going, oh shit, she's coming. I can tell this story like this because my parents loved my comedy. They came to all my shows. They were great fans of my comedy. They were friends even after the divorce. And in fact, I am quite sure that they are up there right now and they are watching me and they're looking down on me and they're very proud that I'm performing for Sheda in Kuching here in Sarawak. I know this for a fact. Thank you very much. Thank you for clapping, sir. Thank you. Oh, yes. You're all clapping because you know what I'm talking about. We're Malaysians, we're very spiritual people, especially East Malaysians, very spiritual. We understand the spiritual world. Yeah, sometimes you meet some masalis. No, not Richard. Not Richard Curtis. He's Malaysian. That's facto already. De facto. Some Americans are, when I say, oh, my parents out there watching me, they're looking after me. Americans are like, oh my God. You mean like ghosts? Oh my God. You Malaysians, you believe in ghosts? Oh my God. That's mentally traumatizing. Oh my God. What a stupid question. Do Malaysians believe in ghosts? Of course Malaysians believe in ghosts. Every single Malaysian in this room believes in ghosts. And I tell you why. Because every single Malaysian falls into one of two categories. Category number 1, you have personally seen a ghost. If you have not personally seen a ghost, you are in category number 2. You know somebody personally who has seen a ghost. And you trust that person. Am I right? Yeah, it's all everybody. You ask yourself, have you seen a ghost? No? Do you know someone? Yes. You get everyone, same thing. Which is why, generally, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysians, we are not very impressed when we watch American horror movies. Why? I say why? Because do you want the ghost to come? Which begs the question, ghosts are a bit stupid, is it? Do the ghosts see the building and they say to themselves, let's haunt the 4th floor of that building? Then the ghosts fly in. G, 1, 2, 3, 3A. Ayah, don't have 4th floor. Ayah, we cannot stay here. Come, we go somewhere else, we go somewhere else. Come. I don't know why I made that ghost Chinese, just so you know, just what happens. Maybe because I was watching so many movies. Spiritual people, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, after the incredible tragedy of MH370, the day after the tragedy, do you remember? A bunch of people showed up at the KLIA airport, sat there in the middle of the lobby with a carpet and bamboo binoculars and satellite coconuts. You remember that? Yeah? Yeah, Malaysians, we all saw this and we knew exactly what was happening. But did you realize CNN was there? Al Jazeera was there, BBC was there. All the Masales, they didn't know what's going on. They were like, oh my God, who are those people and what are they doing there? Malaysians, we knew exactly what they were doing there. They wanted to communicate with the spirits. They wanted to talk to the spirits. But Malaysians, we all said the same thing in our hearts and our mind. We said, hey, stupid. You want to talk to the spirit, is it? Why you have to go to KLIA? Why you cannot talk at home, is it? Why your home, the spirit is like Astro, is it? Got rain, got no signal, is it? Cannot talk at home, Cannot talk at home, Malu aja, But seriously, this is not good. But that's the brilliant thing about being Malaysian. And my parents taught me to be Malaysian. They really did. They were very proud of being Malaysian. And I was a very normal child, I have to say, growing up in the 70s. My best friends there at school was Kenny Chong, Don Dave Benjamin, and Panir Silvam, ladies and gentlemen. These are three individuals. I'm still friends with them. Very normal childhood. I remember when I was 7 years old, I was in Standard 1 in St. John's Primary School, and I sat there, and the teacher handed out this form, this borang, gave me a borang to fill, and I filled out the form. Nama Hari Iskandar bin Musa. Then class, Satu Biru, Warga Negara. I put Malaysia. Then came the question, race, bangsa, Malay, Chinese, Indian, other. 4 boxes. And I looked at this question, race. I asked my friend Kenny, I said, Kenny, what is race? What is race? 100 meter, 200 meter, what is race? What's race? Stupid. Stupid, race, your father, what, your father? My father in the army. Not what he do, not his blood, where from? I think it's Malay. You put Malay, I take Malay. Then I look Chinese, Indian, other. Then I look, there was no England box. My mother was from England. I asked the teacher, I said, teacher. Because in Malaysia, you repeat everything you say. Teacher. Teacher said, what? I said, Teacher, why no England box? Where's England box? Why you want England box? I said, my mother from England. He said, your mother not important. Whoa! I was upset, man. This was in 1973. It was Muhammad Ali time. I immediately went into Muhammad Ali mode. I was like floating like a butterfly, man. Sting like a bee. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean my mother not important? What do you mean my mother not important? My mother is important, man. She has to be represented on this form. So I saw the box, Malay, Chinese, Indian, other. I put an M in front of the other, became mother. I take that box. Malay, mother. I was representing my mother there, yeah. So I handed up this, my teacher damn upset. Hey, cannot. Must choose one box. I said, no, I'm two. He said, no, you must choose one. You are confused. And then I realized something. My whole life, from the age of 7 until 17, nobody ticked 2 boxes, only me. And only when I left Malaysia and I left my school and started traveling around Malaysia, I realized there's a lot of confused Malaysians. Then I came to East Malaysia about 18, 19 years ago, and then I realized, oh my God, in East Malaysia itself, in Sarawak itself, you need like 56 boxes if you were to truly represent everyone. Seriously, and I realized there's a lot of confused Malaysians. And ladies and gentlemen, the lady that I married is also confused. 5.5 years ago, I got married. My wife is Chindian, Chinese Indian. Father Chinese, Lim. Mother Indian, Sangaran. She also confused. I asked her, which box do you tick? She said sometimes she ticks Chinese, sometimes she ticks Indian. Depending on her mood. Angry with the father, or take Indian. Angry with the mother, take Chinese. My goodness. We got married 5.5 years ago. I now have 3 children. I have a 3.5-year-old. I have a 2-year-old. And Richard 21 days ago, my wife gave birth to our third child. So 21 days ago, just 3 weeks ago, I now have 3 children. Thank you for clapping. Thank you for clapping. Thank you. I don't know why you're clapping, actually. If you're clapping for me, don't. I didn't do much. I admit, I happened to be there about 9 months ago. Only for a very short, brief time, about 5 minutes. That's all I had energy for. But if you're clapping for my wife, then she's the one. She did all the work. She's carrying the baby. She's nurturing the baby. She's breastfeeding the baby. If you're clapping, then you're clapping for my wife. So thank you for clapping for my wife. But let me tell you very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. My children now are at that age now where they're growing up, and I'm a bit concerned for them. I'm a bit concerned for them, you know, because the Malaysia we are in today was not the Malaysia that I grew up in, and I'm worried for my kids. I'm a bit worried for them because especially when they go to school, and for the first time when they fill out that form with the 4 boxes, they're going to look at the boxes: race, Malay, Chinese, Indian, other. Then they're going to look at their father, then they're going to look at their mother, then they're going to tick all the boxes: Malay, Chinese, Indian, other. That's what they're going to have to do, right? And then they're going to have to hand that form up to the teacher, and the teacher will be like, "Hey, mana boleh!" The teacher is going to go mental. Tak boleh, gila kau, tak boleh. They're going to be crying. The poor kids are going to be crying. I'm going to be outside the class looking. I'm going to be laughing my head off. I thought I had it bad. You guys are screwed. Of course, I will not be doing that, ladies and gentlemen, because it is my wish, my fantasy, by some incredible miracle, by the time my children grow up and go to school, Malaysia, we do not have 4 boxes anymore. We just have 1 box. Race Malaysian, and we all take that box. At the end of the day, we all take the same box. Because, I tell you what, no matter what's been happening in this country, you know, when you're following on Facebook, on social media, on an actual real media, whatever, there seems to be a lot of turmoil, a lot of people spreading hate. But I tell you something, I've been doing stand-up comedy for 25 years. Every comedy show that I do, regardless whether it's 100 people or 500 people or even up to 9,000 people, I realize Malaysians, when we are together, we all laugh at the same things. And that's because as Malaysians, we want the same things. All we want is for an opportunity to do well for ourselves, our family, and for our children to grow up in a better place than we grew up in. And that's my hope for my children, and that's my hope for Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Iskandar. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Good night. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.